This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Mitch Raymond, a loving husband, devoted father, and empathetic physical therapist. Mitch was born with a brain tumor, which resulted in a life-changing stroke at the age of 6. He reflects on his experiences living with disabilities as a child and the transformative moments that helped him redefine the word special, ultimately inspiring direction in his life. Thank you for joining us for part 2, Mitch Raymond's interview.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we offer a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. Today, we start with a moment of pause, honoring ways that wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope weave throughout our own lives. And we give thanks. Now, Mitch Raymond's interview. Mitch, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's quite a unique one. The fact that you had your stroke when you were 6 years old. People talk about how their life was before the stroke and after the stroke. And you've lived in this same reality the whole time.
For most of my life, yeah.
You told us about your childhood. You said you felt isolated during certain circumstances.
I was different, and sometimes kids with differences get teased and bullied, and I was one of those kids. That just reinforced that feeling of being different.
Was there anything that people said or did that was helpful?
I mean, anything particular that people have said, it wasn't really anything particular, like something I could quote. I just had a lot of support. My mother was a huge advocate for me. She basically made sure that I had the support that I needed to be able to succeed in school. If I needed to have communication between doctors and therapists and things, she basically led the charge. When I was at Special Olympics, there was one time where I actually crashed and burned just shy of the finish line. And one good friend, Dave Esty, he wasn't a friend then, but he actually came and helped me up. And we went to the place where him and his fellow ski people go to help put ice on any bruises or anything like that. He basically, for a majority of the time at Special Olympics, like I met up with him almost every year. He became a great friend just from his love and support. And that seems to be the theme with all the people who have helped me out over the years, is just them showing love and support and understanding and just helping me to not be so self-conscious. My wife totally looked past my weak right side and has supported me throughout the past 15 years. She's absolutely amazing. She never has looked at me as a cripple or something like that. That creates a launching point for anything I want to pursue in life is having that love and support.
Mm. And you give that love and support to a lot of different people. You've chosen a life path that is supportive of others.
True.
Yeah. You said crippled. Is that how you identify yourself?
No, no, I don't identify myself as that. I identify myself as, I mentioned this in the narrative of our story. The word special, when I thought I myself as a cripple, I thought I was inferior.
Hmm.
But then later, through my years doing the Special Olympics, I transitioned the word special to overcoming great odds. And that's basically what I see myself as, almost a specialist in overcoming odds.
Mhm. I love that. A specialist. At one point in our conversations, you said sometimes you feel like did you say Yoda of the
Yeah,
situation?
basically a sensei or something like that. I have a lot of education and evidence-based practices and some things that I've figured out on my own and tinkered with that I can apply to each and every case. I'm a licensed and practicing physical therapist as well as a stroke survivor. So I apply my knowledge to every single case and really customize what I do with clients in order to help them to achieve their goals or at least set them on the right path towards doing so.
Hmm. And your stroke was so long ago, and every stroke survivor has a different journey throughout recovery, and year one can look very different from year 5, 15, 20. And you're going on how many years as a stroke survivor, Mitch?
35 years. Makes me,
35 years
yeah,
as a
I
stroke
can't,
survivor.
it makes me feel like an old man. In fact, I sometimes joke about that. I'll see a fresh stroke survivor who's just had a stroke and let's say just last year, and I'd call them young whippersnappers. And they may be like 60, 70, 80 years old, and I am calling them a young whippersnapper because in the post-stroke world, I am older than them.
Hmm. Hmm. How would you say your perspective on stroke recovery is different now than it was at year 25?
It's different now because at year 25, I didn't really have the full scope of my knowledge as a physical therapist.
Hmm.
I was in school for physical therapy, but I still was trying to figure stuff out. Now, 35 years later, I have several years under my belt. It's 12 going on 13 years of being a practicing physical therapist where I've tinkered with what is most effective. And I have new tricks of the trade that I've applied to myself and others. And so my perspective is a lot more hopeful with the further education and knowledge that I have accumulated over those years.
Hmm. Yeah. How about the emotional piece? How is year 35 different than year 25 in the emotional recovery?
Year 25, I was in physical therapy school. So emotionally, I was still struggling with that feeling of being an outcast, feeling of being indifferent, because in physical therapy school, they teach you one way. Of doing the various techniques. And basically, I had to play the game of adaptation for much of those techniques. So I was still emotionally feeling like an outcast, like I didn't belong. Whereas now, I don't feel that much. In fact, I feel like I'm a bit of an asset, especially to my team. In the next few months, I think by January, I'm going to do a presentation to my own team about increasing range of motion and strength on a neurological level. And I've learned much of these things not only through my education, but also through just tinkering around with my own right side. So these days, I see my right side as not so much of an obstacle, but it is an obstacle in some senses. I haven't eliminated that, but I also see it as an asset. I see it as my own personal laboratory. I can do testing because I have spasticity still. My hand cannot open all the way, although I can do techniques to help open it further. It allows me to have my own guinea pig, if you will, to test things out on and approaches. If they work on me, then I can try to test them out on my clients. And if they work on my clients, then I know I have something.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. How would you say your relationship with your emotional self has evolved over time from the time that you left, let's say, middle school until now? How have you grown through the emotional side of recovery?
Just becoming more accepting of where I'm at. I've become less self-conscious and more confident in myself and how I present myself to others. When I was a kid, I used to be super self-conscious to the point where I only had 3 or 4 friends and I stuck to them quite religiously. And the other kids, I didn't really allow myself to branch out for fear of rejection.
Mm.
And these days, there's still a little bit of that. But if I really want to go out and network with people and become friends with people, all it takes is just being proactive and just going out and putting yourself out there. And once I'm in the mix with people, I just go with it and I try my best to be myself. Sometimes I still do hide behind two disguises to my true self. One is being a stroke survivor, and one is being a physical therapist. Like I have this professional screen that sometimes I have to surpass to be able to show people my true self.
Hmm.
That's my first line of defense when I first meet with people. And the big hurdle is getting past those screens to be comfortable being myself. Does that
Huh.
make sense?
Yeah. What do you mean, true self?
True self is what I am beyond being a stroke survivor, what I am beyond being a physical therapist. True self means like I'm kind of a goofy guy. When I'm with my boys, for example, I'm quite silly and I improv a lot. If they say something that reminds me of a song, I'll start belting out the song, that sort of thing. But I don't do that to people that I'm just getting to know. I have those two screens. I'm a stroke survivor. I'm a physical therapist, and I actually lean towards being a physical therapist more because I'm a physical therapist to so many different clients each year. That's my default.
Yeah.
And for example, I have this trip that I'm going to go on with my younger brother and my father this coming April. It's going to be to Ireland. And
Oh.
I have made a pact with both my father and my brother that I am not allowed to be a physical therapist. I am not allowed to be a stroke survivor. I have to be me during this trip.
How do you peek past those screens?
Um, it has to do with just being open to sharing with each other, being more of a listener with people who I'm trying to become friends with. I find that the more that I listen to them and give them feedback, but not in a judgmental way, but just try to get to know them. And yes, I'll share a little bit about me. And it's just being a little bit more open. And then once you get to know each other through that almost interview process, then it's just a matter of letting little bits of you out that you find true to yourself. Like for me, it's being a little bit goofy, cracking some jokes, something like that, and seeing how they respond. If they respond well, just keep on letting a little bit more of yourself out there and just see where you get to.
Hmm. I hear you saying that you're setting the scene by creating space for them and listening to them, which then creates space for you in return, as with any conversation. But,
Yeah, it produces a level of comfort.
uh-huh. Hmm. So, in order to let your true self shine, you create space for the other person to shine too.
Right.
Huh. I've heard people say that they don't want to be known as the stroke guy or known as their profession. But it sounds like much of your life you've built as an advocate in those two areas.
Well, when it comes to seeing clients or being at stroke camp, for example, I let those aspects of me shine because that's how I help people. Throughout my professional career, I have applied the level of empathy to people with physical disabilities, especially with stroke survivors. I think empathy is a huge factor towards developing a bond. And so the more you learn about them and the more you show understanding about where they come from and where they're going in life, the more you can empathize with them and develop a bond through empathy.
Hmm. Is there someone who did that with you early on?
Yes, very early on when I was in my second round of kindergarten, because I had to stay back, I made three friends, Robbie, Garrett, and I think his name was Matthew. But it was mainly Garrett who really allowed me to feel comfortable with myself. He was not the tallest kid in the class. He also had asthma. He had a little bit of a disability himself. So he was very non-judgmental, very accommodating to my physical disabilities. And when we played together, he didn't show any focusing on my disability. He totally looked past that and just treated me like he would treat anybody else. I'm still in touch with Garrett, and that's just the way he is.
Kids are amazing. At times, they can have this innate ability to be compassionate and really see through everything in order to then raise the level of compassion, raise the level of humanity.
Yeah, we touch upon one aspect of that in the story. It was the drawing. My boys wanted to see me draw with my right hand, and they were totally non-judgmental. And especially young kids, they were very young. Typically, my boys' experience in class, they do new things, they play with each other, and judgment really doesn't come into the equation most times for younger kids. So when you get into middle school and high school, that sort of judgment starts to really kick in.
Yeah. And in that moment, you said that they didn't want to draw with you initially because they were afraid that you drew so well and they didn't want to compare themselves to you. So the fear was already there. But then when you offered a way for it to be a non-judgmental situation, saying, I'll do it with the hand that was affected by stroke, they were excited about that. They wanted to be in that moment with you.
Right. They had never seen me draw with my right hand before. They had rarely seen me use it at that point. They knew that I had leveled the playing field a little bit,
Hmm.
and they felt much more motivated to be engaged.
Hmm. We can learn a lot from kids.
Absolutely.
So, how about later in life, a mentor maybe that was empathetic to you on your journey?
I find that all my patients are kind of mentors. We have a back and forth. I'm a mentor of them, and they're a mentor towards me. And that's one of the highs I get out of being a physical therapist. We get to share empathy towards each other. Regularly in the beginning, an initial eval, I share a summarized version of my story. And that sets the tone of, whoa, you've been through hell and back. You've been through a lot. This guy can really help me because he understands what it's like to overcome great obstacles to achieve goals.
Hmm.
And then with them overcoming their obstacles, and that fuels me, if you will. It fuels me in my capacity to keep on working on myself.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much power in companionship and community. And it sounds like your mom helped you find communities throughout your childhood. And then you ended up engaging in those communities in a way that you became a mentor and then also created your own community moving forward.
Yes.
How did you develop confidence to do that?
Um, Leadership conferences helped. When I was a kid, I was very self-conscious up till eighth grade. Um, and the type of high school that my mother sent me to was Long Trail School in Dorset, Vermont, which had much smaller class sizes. My class sizes ranged anywhere from 5 kids to maybe 12.
Wow.
They were very small class sizes. So that helped develop that confidence because you had to stand out and you had to engage because the class sizes were so small. And then later, towards junior and senior year, I started to go to leadership conferences like the Rotary Club Leadership Conference and the National Young Leaders Conference in Washington, D.C. And for my youth group, I did public speaking, like reading of scriptures for my youth group. Those experiences, plus being a coach for Special Olympics, as well as then being a ski instructor, plus being a golf caddy and speaking to people of very high status in life. I just developed this comfort with speaking with people who were politicians, or were doctors or professors, and all that stuff combined led to a level of confidence that I'm hopefully displaying today.
It's amazing, Mitch, when you talk about your childhood and your lack of confidence, gradually throughout life, you have put yourself out there, even when it was hard, even when you didn't want to. You put yourself out there and you developed those skills through those experiences, through those relationships. But then what you did is you took that and gave it back to the world. You took that and you are continuing to meet with people one-on-one every day in order to hold their hand and work towards that confidence and work towards acknowledging the true self that you spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
And I think I'll probably continue to do some variation of that sort of activity throughout the rest of my life. That's kind of, I guess, my calling, if you will. And ironically, my first concentration in college, as I say in the story, was not physical therapy. It was aerospace engineering. It was astrophysics.
Astrophysics.
Yeah, and my mother had recommended in the beginning to try, maybe you should become a physical therapist. I think you would be great at it. Oh, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. You know how we do that to our mothers?
Moms.
Oh, you have no idea. What are you talking about? And what am I right now? Exactly what she said I was going to be.
You're more than a
Like,
physical therapist, though.
yeah, right. Yeah.
I love that story. Thank you, Mitch. Well, Mitch, thank you for taking time over the past couple months to write your story, to reflect. You're a coach, you're a dad, you're a physical therapist. You volunteer often in your community, and you took the time each week to meet with me. So thank you. Thank you for developing and sharing your story.
You're welcome, Molly.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. I will read questions aloud, and you can also find them written in the podcast episode description. Now, community conversation prompts. How have you overcome significant challenges? What difficult life experience have you drawn upon to support or empower others? How do you do so? Again, these are questions to ask yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. Welcome curiosity and create community. Thank you for listening to Part 2, Mitch Raymond's interview. For the full story, please listen to Part 1, Mitch Raymond's story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Mitch shared his remarkable journey from adversity to empowerment. His story reminds us that the challenges we face can lead to profound personal growth and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to be special. If Mitch's experiences resonated with you, consider how your own challenges can inspire and uplift others. Stay tuned for more stories to celebrate resilience and the power of human spirit. Remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.